Hi, God bless you. God bless you. My name is Shayna from the Love of Jesus World Outreach Ministry, and I am so excited that you have tuned in today. You know, we have been here sharing about our God and about how God is a God of possibilities. And I want to share with you today about the God of possibilities. You see, even though we may try to do things on our own, it's time for us to realize that we have to step out the way and allow God to have his way. It's time for us to begin to pray to God and begin to tell God that we surrender it all, because we have been in a place way too long. We have been dealing with situations for way too long and we are tired. But I want you to know today that as we begin to surrender it all to God and realize that it is not in our own ways, not our own thinking, it's not in our own ability, it is not in our own strength, but it is the strength that we have through God that will get us through whatever it is that we are going through. So I want to share with you today about this God that make things happen, because I believe that somebody today is believing God for something to happen in their life, for some situation to be turned around immediately. But you see, he says in his word in Mark chapter 10 verses 27, he says, with men it is impossible, but not with God. For with God all things are possible. But I'm going to read this in the Message translation. It says, no chance at all if you think you can pull it off by yourself. No chance at all if you think you can pull it off by yourself. But you have every chance in the world if you let God do it. Is that you today? Have you been trying to pull it off by yourself? Have you been trying to make it happen on your own? Have you been trying to deal with your circumstances and you see that it is impossible, and what you do is just accept that impossibility? But he says right here in his word that if you leave it to God, if you give it to God, if you let God do it, you have every chance in the world. But if you try to pull it off by yourself, you have no chance. So today, as we begin to shift our minds and we say, God, we surrender and we want you to do it for us. We want you to do it through us, and we begin to step out of the way. Let us step out of God's way and allow him to move on our behalf. There will be a shift that will take place. That shift that will take place will shift you from having no chance at all to having every chance in the world. Now you see, there's a reason why. The reason he says in his word that he says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are my ways your ways. As for the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. It says in Isaiah. Now, you see, I said before that we have been trying to pull it off by ourselves. But how can we pull it off by ourselves if our thoughts are not his thoughts and his ways are not our ways and his ways are higher than our ways? How can we do it on our own? But today, God is saying it's time for you to step out the way, because when God is in it, there is no limit. And in that impossible situation where you have just accepted it, he says that he is a God of all possibilities. And when God is in it, there is no limit. You see, when we try to do it on ourselves, when we try to pull it off in our own strength, we are limited in what we can do. We are limited in what we think. We are limited in what we can see. And I want to share with you with Lot and Abraham. You see, in Genesis, he says that Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, and that it was all well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt as you go towards Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east. But then further in that chapter, it says that the Lord said to Abram, after Lot has separated from him, he says, lift your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, westward, for all the land which you see, I have given you and your descendants forever. Now, what I see here is Lot, and Lot looked in one direction, but yet God told Abraham to look in four. Now, I'm talking about limited versus unlimited. You see, when we look to God, when we follow the instructions of God, when we look to him and not just ourselves, you see, it said Lot chose for himself. And when he chose for himself, he looked one way. But God is saying, don't just look one way, but look four directions, and all the land that you see, he will give it to you. And it will not just be for you, but it will be for your descendants forever. You see, when you see in the natural, it is nothing compared. It is nothing compared to what you will see through the eyes of faith. Now, possibility and impossibilities. We have limited and unlimited. And in both of those scenarios, it seems like one way was unlimited, and that's with God. So right now, begin to surrender it all to him. Begin to look to God and realize that I can't pull it off by myself, but today, from this day forward, I want God to do it. I want to look to him for instruction. I want to look to him for direction. And that impossible situation, I'm here to remind you that with God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. Receive that word today. Receive it as you begin to lay hold of it by faith. You will see the hand of God move on your behalf. I pray that this word was a blessing to you. If you don't know Jesus, ask him into your heart to be your Lord and Savior. Ask him to transform you. Ask him to come into your heart and to just show you how you can live a life that is pleasing to him. My name is Shayna from the Love of Jesus World Outreach Ministry, and I will see you next time.